Hi everyone, it's me, Lindsay, with EquipMeOT, here today to talk about raised toilet seats, and more specifically, how to pick the right setup for you. So if you followed me for any length of time, you may have noticed that I've done quite a lot of content on how to install various types of raised toilet seats. So throughout this video, as I reference those, I'm going to make a link up in the corner that you can click on to see the very specific details of how to properly install that option. So if you see one that you think works for you, go ahead and head over to the link and it'll take you through the step-by-step process of how to install one. So this video is really meant to give you some guidance on how to pick one in the first place. So make sure you stick around. I have some really cool options, and at the end I'm going to show you one of the most unique options that I guarantee you've never seen for a toilet seat riser. It's by Dignity Lifts, and I promise you it's worth taking a look at because it's a really revolutionary system that can help a lot of people, so stick around for that. All right, so let's get started with the toilet and the bathroom setup itself. It's really important you understand what's already in place before you go about selecting a riser. That includes what type of toilet you have. So I have an older, low toilet. This toilet only measures 14 inches from the floor to the top of the toilet seat. That's the first measurement you want to know when selecting your toilet seat riser, from the floor to the top of the toilet. Now, for some folks, that's going to be way too low, but for some of my shorter users, we only need to add an inch or two to actually make it work. For taller users, you're going to need to add some significant height to something that low. The next thing you need to know about your toilet is going to be the type of bowl. Okay, so this is a round bowl. There is also something called an elongated bowl. An elongated bowl is just that. It's going to be longer front to back versus this one, which is round. It's also important to note that some of the round bowls are very small, so knowing the actual size of the bowl is important, and I'll get into why in a little bit. Okay, so let's talk about the bathroom around the toilet. So in this bathroom, I have a countertop next to the toilet. That's really important to note when making decisions about potential handrails that might be added to the riser. I don't have a wall on this side, however, so I can't add any grab bars. Another important consideration when knowing what type of riser is going to work. It's also important to know who else lives in the home. Who is this being used for? What is the situation in which you are trying to solve a problem? Is it just one person who uses this bathroom, and so the design only needs to be focused on them? Or is this a communal bathroom, perhaps, that is being used by maybe even multi-generational households? If you've got children in the house, it's important not to add 5 inches of height to a toilet, so now no one else can use it. So this is super important. Asking these questions up front can save you a lot of headaches down the line, so you don't end up with something you don't want. Okay, so let's talk about the actual riser options. The very first option that I always throw out is replacing your low toilets, these 14-inch standards, with something called an ADA height toilet or a comfort height toilet. Comfort height toilets and ADA compliant toilets typically run from 17 inches to 19 inches high. That's a significant increase in height and could be sufficient for many users. For a lot of folks who are, typically under 5'6", those heights are going to be enough without any added height to give you what you need. So the downside to that is it's going to involve removing an old toilet, having a new one in, could be the cost of a plumber as well as the cost of the toilet. So it's a little bit of a pricey option, but it's going to give you the cleanest final look. It also doesn't give you the option of any handrails unless you decided to add something like safety frames, which I've installed in this video here. Okay, the other option is if you don't want to put in a full new toilet, there's this great solution called a Toilevator. A Toilevator goes underneath the toilet, lifts it up several inches, and then you have your standard toilet on top of it. It's a very discreet option, costs less than replacing your toilet, and can add even a little bit more height. So if you've got a really tall client, you could even stack the Toilevator underneath a comfort height toilet and get something in the 21 to 22 inch rate, which is for the really tall end of the spectrum. So that's another option. Again, will require a plumber because you want to make sure you get the neck correct underneath so that you don't develop any leaks. So you want to make sure they're installed properly. But once they're in, they're a great solution. Okay, so now let's talk about actual risers. The very first one, and one of the easiest to use, is the set-on riser. These set-on risers involve lifting the toilet seat up like this and simply placing them in the area that's left behind. Now, there are the simplest option, which is just simply setting in place. I have a video here on the specifics of how to install these because it's important you do it correctly, as they're the least stable option. Nothing is securing it to the toilet, so it's very important you know how to use it. The next step up from that for security purposes would be a clamp-on riser. Clamp-on risers are going to work similarly in that you lift up the toilet seat, you're going to sit directly on it, and it's going to clamp onto the front of the toilet. Both of these options, you need to know what bowl type you have. Make sure that the measurements are going to work because they don't fit properly otherwise. This is a relatively affordable option, and I've done a video here on how to specifically install that. The nice thing about these clamp-ons is they also usually come with added handrails that can go on one or both sides depending on the setup you have in your bathroom. So these two first options are great in those multi-generational households or households where you have people of different heights having to use the same toilet. This will save you a lot of headaches because they come on and off relatively easy. They're also great for travel solutions or individuals who have multiple homes that just want to be able to bring something with them. They're very easy to keep clean in that they're hard plastic, so they wipe really easily. The downside to them is they tend to be a less secure option. They tend to have a little more wiggle to them, and if you have somebody who's particularly prone to falling or losses of balance, they may not be the best option for you. The next option is the more secure option. These are bolt-on raised toilet seats. There are many different variations of this. I did a video here on a really standard style. This is one of my very first YouTube videos, so be kind if you watch it because I look a little different and we were new to the whole process. So this video will show you how to install these bolt-on toilet seats, but it's very important to note that you're actually going to sit on your toilet seat, not the actual riser, which makes it different than the first few I've shown, which is really nice for a lot of folks. They find that really comfortable. They have them that lift up and down. They have them that are static. The static ones, once they're bolted in place, are difficult to keep clean because the underside can get dirty and you have to unbolt them actually to clean underneath. So that's one of the downsides to them. But the upside to a bolt-on variety is that they're very, very stable. These are a really secure option. They come with handles, they come without them. You have a lot of flexibility of use, and like I said, you sit directly on it. They're not great if you're somebody who's going to be removing a toilet seat riser regularly because it involves having to unbolt and do all of that. It really only takes a few minutes, but it can be a little cumbersome. Okay, so the final option is the over-the-toilet commode solution. I will point out that over-the-toilet commodes specifically are the only thing covered by most insurances. So everything I've talked about up to this point would be an out-of-pocket cost. But a commode can actually be something you can get fully covered by most insurances, including Medicare. So that might be a really good option. And the nice thing about a commode is obviously it can be used not only over the toilet, but at the bedside, chair side, or wherever you need it. So they're very flexible. They tend to have a bit of a size around them that you need to take into consideration for small, tight spaces. For example, in this bathroom, because I have this counter very close and I have this toilet paper bar here, I'd have to do some measuring to make sure the commode arms are going to actually fit properly around the toilet so that the hole lines up. That can be a big frustration when folks get them into place and realize it doesn't fit. It's also important to note that there are a variety of commode types. There are the standard commode, there are bariatric commodes, which are going to give you a wider surface area and a greater amount of weight capacity. And there's also going to be padded commodes, like the drop arm variety, which I really, really like. They're the most comfortable, they're very sturdy. And the cool thing about a commode is you can adjust how much height you want based on what the person needs by just adjusting the foot height. So there you go, the commode options. I'm going to show you now one of the very coolest options out on the market by Dignity Lift, so stick around. So now that I've showed you a bunch of options that maybe you've heard of, I want to show you this really cool Dignity Lift product. This is a power assist lifting commode, which is completely unique on the market. Dignity Lift makes an incredibly quality product that serves a really, really important function. And basically the idea behind this is to create a lifting system that reduces the amount of assistance somebody will need, reduces fall risk, significantly reduces burden of care. So whether it's being used in a facility setting or it's being used in a home setting, the goal is to really protect, serve the client in a way that allows for greater dignity during toileting activities, a really significant ease of transfer because it's actually going to lift very similar mechanism to what you would see in like a power assist recliner. So it's going to kind of stand you up. It does come equipped with a battery, so it doesn't have to be plugged in all the time, but it is nice if you have a plug near the toilet to be able to plug it in to power it up. Now it also comes on wheels so that you can wheel it in and out of the bathroom setting if you want it over the toilet, or it can be used as a bedside option, which is really amazing. So you can actually use this anywhere in the home or anywhere in a facility that you may need it. Comes with the bucket that works underneath it, and there are 3 different varieties available by Dignity Lift. I'm going to put all of their contact information and web address down below, so go check that out and give them a like. So let's show this thing in action. So I'm gonna go ahead and sit up here. I have it over top of my very low toilet that we've been talking about. And you can adjust the height at the feet to set it so that it'll roll over any height toilet. So it really does have that flexibility. It's got a single button here on one of the armrests. And all I have to do here is press the activation button, and it's going to lift me slowly and in a very controlled manner to whatever height I desire to make it easy for me to stand from this toilet. Now again, this is very similar to a recliner in that I can set that height. So if I'm looking at a rehab potential, I could really use this to set a height appropriate for building strength. So I don't have to raise it all the way up every time. Maybe I go a little lower when the individual is feeling a little stronger. This has a ton of flexibility, takes a lot of the burden of care away from the caregiver, from having to do heavy lifting daily for some of the individuals that really struggle to come to a stand. So again, I can kind of raise it up. Now I'm here, I've got these really nice sturdy support handles, and I can push up to a stand without much effort at all. Again, I can then use it to sit back down, and the nice thing about having it in a slightly elevated position is that I'm not worried about my client or the person coming down really hard on a low toilet, because they can actually bring themselves much closer to that standing position and then come down to a seated position very safely. So again, reducing that fall risk, reducing injury risk, just generally making life a lot easier. They have these in a bunch of different, or in 3 different varieties. This is their mid-grade. They also have one that's more for facility use, a little heavier duty. So again, I want you to take a look at their stuff. They have a link down below, and I'm really impressed by what this design offers. So there you have it, a bunch of information on how to pick your proper raised toilet seat. I hope you got some value out of this video. If you did, consider giving me a thumbs up. Feel free to leave comments and questions down below. And as always, if you need more information on how to stay safe and independent in your home and community, consider subscribing to EquipMeOT. Thank you.